A Little Princess.
Chapter 1. The New School. It was a gray winter day. A little girl sat beside her father in a cab.
Papa,
She whispered.
Papa, is this the place?
Yes, Sarah, said her father. This is the place. Sarah Crew was born in India. Her mother was dead. Her father was young, good-looking, and rich. Sarah loved him, and he loved her. But Sarah was not in India anymore. She was in England now. She was there to go to school.
Please stay with me, Papa.
She said.
Come to school with me.
Her father looked unhappy. No, Sarah, he said. I must go back to India. The cab stopped in front of a big house. It was a school for girls. Sarah's father got out of the cab. He rang the doorbell. A woman came to meet them. She was thin and ugly. Her name was Miss Minchin. Miss Minchin was a greedy woman. She knew that Sarah's father was rich. Sarah was his only daughter. He would give lots of money to the girl. Then she would help Sarah use the money. Miss Minchin looked at Sarah.
What a pretty child,
she said. Sarah looked at Miss Minchin but said nothing.
I am not pretty,
thought Sarah.
I am thin. I have black hair and green eyes. I am as ugly as she is. Why does she call me pretty?
Let's not stand out here, said Miss Minchin. Please come in, Captain Crew. Then she led Sarah and her father into the school. Chapter 2. A French Lesson. Captain Crew went back to India. He told Miss Minchin to buy Sarah the best of everything. Sarah had beautiful dresses. They were made of silk, velvet, and lace. Sarah also had the biggest bedroom in the house. Sarah liked all these things, but she missed her father very much. Miss Minchin was pleased with her new student. This girl was richer than a princess. She dressed like a princess. The other schoolgirls were excited to meet Sarah. They liked to look at her gorgeous clothes. Over time, the other girls also learned that Sarah was kind. But some girls were jealous because she was rich. Sarah was a clever girl. She loved to read books. She liked to learn new things. One morning, Miss Minchin came into the schoolroom. Have you ever learned French in school, Sarah? She asked.
No, Miss Minchin, said Sarah, but...
Then you must start learning it now, said Miss Minchin. Sarah knew how to speak French, but Miss Minchin would not let her explain. Then the French teacher came into the schoolroom.
The teacher will understand,
thought Sarah. Sarah stood up. She explained things to the teacher in French. Miss Minchin was very surprised. She was also angry. The other girls were laughing at Miss Minchin. From that day, Miss Minchin disliked Sarah. Chapter 3. The Diamond Mines. Sara could tell wonderful stories. All the schoolgirls loved to listen to them. Becky was a servant girl. She worked in the school, keeping it clean. Becky loved to listen to Sara's stories, just like the other girls. Sara made friends with Becky. She knew that Miss Minchin would not like it. But she wanted to be nice to Becky. Every night, Becky came to clean Sara's room. Sara gave her food. Then she told her new friend a story. Captain Crew often wrote letters to his daughter. In one letter, he told Sara some news. He and his friend had bought some diamond mines. If these mines were good, they would make a lot of money. When Miss Minchin heard this, she was pleased. Now Sara would be even richer than before. Then sad news arrived. A man came to see Miss Minchin. He told her that Sara's father was dead, but before he died, he lost all his money. Miss Minchin was furious. She had treated Sara like a princess. She had used a lot of money on Sara. Now she would not get any of it back. Her rich student became poor. Miss Minchin called Sara into the schoolroom. "Your father is dead," she told Sara. "And you are not rich anymore. You are poor. You have nothing." Sara was happy that Becky was her friend. Miss Minchin was often unkind to Sara, but Sara was never rude back to her. When Miss Minchin shouted at her, Sara did not cry. She listened and tried to do her work well. Miss Minchin hated Sara more than ever. Chapter 5. The Gentleman Next Door. In the spring, someone moved into the house next door. Sara stood at the attic window. She watched people taking furniture and boxes into the house. A man was taken into the house. He was wrapped in a blanket. He looked ill and unhappy. Sara thought of her father. He had been very ill before he died.
I wish I could help this man,
she thought. The gentleman had come from India, but he was not Indian. He was English. His name was Mr. Carrisford. Mr. Carrisford had an Indian servant. This servant missed India very much. India was warm and sunny, but England was cold and rainy. One day, Sara saw the servant. He was standing at his attic window. She smiled, and he smiled back. The servant had a little monkey with him. Suddenly, the monkey jumped out the window. It ran across the rooftop. It ran towards Sara. Sara caught the monkey. She spoke to the servant in Hindi. He was very surprised. He walked across the rooftop to her. Sara gave him the monkey. The servant smiled at Sara, and then he went back. Later, he told Mr. Carrisford about the kind girl. One night, the monkey ran away again. Sara found him in her attic.
Oh no,
she thought.
Everyone next door will think he is lost. I must take him back.
Sara went to the house next door. She rang the doorbell. Chapter 6. A Princess After All. Mr. Carrisford was sitting by the fire.
It is nice to meet you,
he said.
Thank you for bringing the monkey back. Are you a student at the school?
I was at first,
said Sara.
Then my father died in India. He lost all his money. Now I am poor.
The gentleman looked surprised.
What was your father's name?
He asked.
Captain Ralph Crewe,
said Sara.
Ralph Crewe?
cried the gentleman.
You are Ralph Crewe's daughter. I have been looking for you for 2 years. I am your father's friend. I bought some diamond mines with him. I was very ill when he died. When I got better, I looked for you everywhere. Nobody knew where you were.
Suddenly, Miss Minchin was at the door.
How dare you come into this gentleman's house?
She shouted.
Come home right now.
Home?
said Mr. Carrisford.
You have not given her a home? This girl is not poor at all.
All Miss Minchin could say was,
But her father died.
Mr. Carrisford said,
I have kept Miss Sarah's fortune safe. She is very, very rich. She is richer than any princess. You could have been kind to her, but you were unkind instead.
Miss Minchin nearly fainted.
Rich?
she cried.
Sara Crewe is rich?
Sara was a little princess after all.